Hey, what's up? This is Jonathan from the Contortionist, and you're checking out GotGent.com.
So your new album, Intrinsic, was released last week, and how has it been received so far?
Great. Yeah, things have been pretty awesome. Obviously there's going to be some people that have differing opinions of where we should have gone with it, but other than that, I'd say most of the fans are super stoked on it, and live, all the new songs are coming off really well, and we've been digging it. It's been good.
It sounds a lot more dreamy. People have said it features less elements of deathcore.
Sure.
Was this a conscious decision on your part? Or?
Yeah. I think the whole band as a whole, the whole band had kind of realized that there was a lot of elements of music that we like to pursue, a lot more than just the heavy aspect. And being heavy is fun, being heavy is good, but I think that contrast that we had on Exoplanet, we were trying to even go further with it, so that way when the heavy parts hit, it has more impact. So.
Many listeners have compared it to Cynic, like Cynic's comeback album, Tres en Air,
right.
2008.
Right.
Was Cynic a big influence in writing this new album?
Yeah, I think Cynic is among many bands that we take a lot of influence from. Whether it be vocally on my part, or guitars-wise, or even drums and stuff. I think there's a lot of aspects that we look up to them as a band that's been around for a while and they know what they're doing. And it's not something we're trying to be the next Cynic or something like that. But I feel like the more like progressive rock side of us, it fits in really well. It squeezes in really well with our skill sets, because I'm kind of a softer singer, and so is Paul. So it kind of fits.
So would you say that your influences have changed a lot since Exoplanet, or?
They've grown a lot. There's been some of the same influences, but there's also been a lot of new ones that we're taking in and we're bringing into the fold. Just a lot of bands. I think a lot of it kind of has to do with a lot of bands we used to listen to and stuff. Like Dream Theater, or like Rush or something like that, where it's more based on songwriting and not so much the pushing the envelope of heavy. I think we're trying to really focus on the songwriting on this album and trying to make each song have some sort of identity and not just be a collection of riffs or something like that.
Right. So you've mentioned that you listen to a lot of electronic music. Mm-hmm. What about it, or what is it about it that attracts you to it and influences your writing?
I think that I'm not really into like dancey music or anything like that, or electronic music per se on that end of the spectrum, but it's kind of more like I really appreciate music that is written by like one or two people or something like that, where there's a vision in place and it's not all these people playing together with all these confines. Electronic music can be very free-flowing and very can really say a lot about an artist personally, just because if you're writing it by yourself or you have all these elements to work with, it really comes off pretty, I think, like you guys said, dreamy. I think that's kind of an influence there, is having songs have a mood and stuff, and not just be instruments playing what they're supposed to be playing. It's all about ambience and mood.
Last year, we briefly talked to you guys in New England, or at New England Metal and Hardcore Festival in Worcester, Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. And we asked you what you thought about your music being labeled as gent. Yeah. Obviously, it's our question. You seemed to be okay with it then. Has your opinion changed at all?
I think we're getting the same amount of people labeling parts like that, and I think it has to do with certain riffs more than others. Like there'll be plenty of heavy parts that really no one even bothers to say anything about, but then other things will be like, oh, that riff's so gent, or whatever. So it's like, that's gonna happen, I guess. I think it just has a lot to do with the fact that some of the more distorted tones are pretty ragey, and but there's also a lot on the album that aren't at all. And there'll even be heavy parts that don't have, there might be a really heavy part, or it hits hard, but it's not really that overdriven tone to the max. It's more of a classic, overdrive or distorted tone. you know, I don't think any of us really mind labels considering the fact that there's so many, you know, to worry about and stuff. So we're just more focused on the songs, I suppose.
All right. You signed with Gridfight Music in 2010. How did you decide to go with them, and how did you find them?
Well, we kind of were found by them through our management, which at the time was a different company than we are with at the moment. But we have practically the same manager that we've had for the last few years. There used to be like a partnership, and now we're down to the one person that we've been with, Jason, for a while. And he just takes care of all of our shit for us, and and communicates for us and with us, and we're always talking to him daily about things and stuff. So I think that his job was integral for us finding the right label and making sure that we waited for someone who actually cared about us and not just signing the first thing we got, and then just kind of get ignored or something.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for younger bands who are currently looking for a label?
I would say that the goal should not be your goal shouldn't be to get signed as quickly as possible or just whatever will take you, but think of it as if you got a product that someone wants to buy and wants to sell, which that's the label's job, then you're going to get a much better deal and much better treatment if you make sure that you're actually wanted. If you just you can be taken advantage of very easily in this business. If you don't be careful and if you don't have people on your side. And I think it's really important for people to wait out something until they feel like it's actually going to get them somewhere, because it's a lot of pressure. You get there and you have to pay for your merch, all that merch, and pay for your band, your trailer repairs, gas, and you can lose a lot of money really quickly. And if you don't have a steady, support system with your manager and label, you can drown pretty quickly in debt. So I think for us, we're working really hard to make this a living, and we're still working our way up, and hopefully one day it'll get to that point. But as far as bands getting started, I would say they should just make sure they're building their band up to actually have a fan base, and not just, it's not like once you get signed it's all easy. You still have to have a fan base, you still have to write good music or whatever.
Right. You also announced a few days ago that you signed to Seasons of Mist in Europe.
Yes.
What's the story behind that?
It was something that I think was done definitely more in the ranks of our management and label. I didn't know too much about it until it was in the final stages of it about to be happening, and I found out. I was super stoked on it. It was really cool. So yeah, I really didn't have any doing in the actual event itself, but it's something we're all really excited about. It's really neat.
All right, so a couple questions about your tour. Your music is very intricate and uses a large variety of instrumental sounds.
Sure.
So are there any challenges with this to performing it live?
Yeah, with the keyboard, obviously I can pull off a really wide array of sounds, and I guess the biggest challenge would be to recreate exactly what's on the album, because sometimes there's some patches on the album where it did come from a keyboard that I'm using, or at least close. But there's some things that aren't so much, and I think that's where backing tracks come into play a little bit. I think I strive to make sure that when people come to see us live that we're playing everything, we're actually performing it. It's not just a whole bunch of stuff going on that no one's even playing. I kind of get a cheap feeling whenever I go to a show and I feel like what's getting my attention is not even being played by a person. So I think that's kind of our goal, is to for me to play as many of those keyboard parts as possible, which I do, and then there's a few sounds and effects that we have on backing tracks and stuff. So with all that in mind, it ends up being pretty thick and full sound, and that's the goal, is to try to emulate the album sound.
Perfect. I believe that covers the second question as well.
It does. So you're currently touring the US with Seven Horns, Seven Eyes, Chimp Spanner, and Jeff Loomis. Were you familiar at all with their music prior to this tour?
I was definitely very familiar with Chimp Spanner before the tour. Probably been listening to, I want to say it's been a year and a half or a couple of years since I've been listening to him. Whenever I didn't know about his first EP, and I only pretty much discovered it once he came out with At the Dream's Edge. Yeah, and I thought that was the sickest thing. I jammed that a lot and stuff, and it's really cool, and the new stuff's really cool too. So it was really awesome to hear that he was getting on. Whenever we heard that, we were like, really? You know, he's coming from overseas and he's going to be opening for us, so it's an honor for sure to have somebody that I look up to as a musician, you know, to be opening for us. It's really something. And obviously Jeff Loomis is pretty legendary, you know, because I'm a guitarist as well, you know, not in the band or anything, but I've been playing guitar for a while, so very familiar with his work and, you know, Nevermore and everything, so it's pretty sick that he's on the tour.
You guys have also had some bad luck on this tour. The show in Michigan was cancelled, and then last night the show in Vegas was cancelled as well. But apart from that, how's it been so far?
Yeah, apart from the cancellations, things have been cool. There's only been, I mean, maybe out of the first 10 shows, a couple where the attendance was pretty shady or something. And, it's not a big deal. It's something that bumps you out a little bit because you're, you know, but it is our first headliner, and you know, we're really excited about all the good numbers that we've been getting and stuff, and tonight's show's going to be sick in Hollywood, and so I'd say overall we've been really happy with the actual, you know, turnouts and the crowds and stuff. There's just been a little issues with, you know, some promoters dropping the ball on a few things, but we've been working around it. We got our tour manager that's been helping us out, saving the day more than a few times, so it's been great.
All right. Your lyrical themes are quite complex and deal with eclectic subjects. Can you tell us something about the concept behind the album?
Yeah, the new album, basically I've decided to go in the direction of like the inner space of the brain and the mind and everything that, you know, becomes of that, and kind of, you know, asking questions about, you know, basically the first part of the album discusses different various topics, and then the last half of the album, last 5 tracks, are kind of more of a storyline, more of a sci-fi novel storyline about a project to manipulate someone's dreams and be able to control them and essentially do what you want inside of a dream by your own design. So the last 5 songs are about that, and in the first 5, I think there's 10 tracks, are about different things, and everything as a whole kind of pertains to the inner space of the brain and stuff, but there are a few other concepts, like the first song kind of talks more about more of a universal principle, and talking more about that kind of cosmic theme going on, that kind of motif that was in Exoplanet, where it has a cosmic theme and more focused on the arena of galaxies and intergalactic travel. This one is more about, you know, traveling your own mind in a sense. So that's pretty much what I aimed for, and came out pretty well. You know, with all the planning that I put into it and trying to fit those into the songs. I'm really happy with it, and everyone's been digging it so far, and stoked to, you know, get more feedback from fans. It's only been a week since it's been out and stuff, so it's always really cool whenever people analyze it and tell you their take on it and stuff. So
great.
I'm looking forward to that.
Okay. Just a couple of general questions to wrap up. Do you have any plans yet for your next release?
We don't really have anything in place yet. I would assume that, you know, something along the lines of we're going to tour throughout the rest of the year. We're going to tour throughout the next, you know, beginning half of next year, and, you know, we could possibly, I would maybe take a guess that we're going to be going into the studio maybe at the end of next year. That's a complete guess, but that's a, you know, educated guess.
Gotcha. Alrighty. If you had to pick 3 guest musicians to feature on your next record, who would they be and why?
Actually, we were talking about the other day how sick it would be if Phil Collins did a because our sound guy Wes was sound checking to a Phil Collins song, and we were just like, that would be pretty sweet actually. What else? I mean, vocalist-wise, I can think of a few that would be pretty sick, like Tom York or something like that would be. I mean, that would never happen or anything, but, you know, just dreaming-wise, that would be sweet. You know, there's other guitarists that we all like a lot. You know, maybe, you know, if Paul Masvidal from Cynic would do like a guitar solo, like, that would be the sickest thing. Or, you know, John Petrucci, any of that kind of stuff that we all take influence from would be amazing. But, like, we can always dream.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you.